Hi, I'm Dr. Don Boomgaarden, President of St. Joseph's College, and I'd like to welcome you to St. Joseph's College, Living Our Mission. Built on tradition and founded by the Sisters of St. Joseph more than 100 years ago, we are a mission-driven institution that provides a strong academic and value-oriented education with growing, diverse campuses located in Patchogue and Brooklyn, New York, as well as online. Thank you for joining us. In this program, we will be discussing the academic experience at St. Joseph's College. St. Joseph's occupies a most distinct position in the higher education ecosystem. With more than 50 majors delivered across land-based and virtual modalities, SJC offers the wide range of options provided at a larger university, yet also provides the small class sizes and personalized attention one receives from a smaller, highly selective liberal arts college. To speak more about the unique academic experience we provide our students is Dr. Heather Berry, Associate Provost and Professor of History, and Dr. Frank Antonowich, Professor and Chair of Biology. So happy to have both of you here with me today. One of the things that's remarkable about St. Joseph's College is its incredible academic tradition. And you two are the prime movers and examples of that, because I know both of you, each in your own fields, each in your own departments, have accomplished so much. Each of you are publishing scholars, each of you have worked in the research realm as well as the teaching realm, and interestingly enough, each of you have become, partially through my devious nature, you've both become administrators. And I think that a college like St. Joseph's needs people who have experience in the classroom, who are working as administrators because of the critical importance of the understanding of really what we do. And so many times, the very best administrators are those that have been in the trenches, they've worked with the students, they've worked with their colleagues, and then they've gradually moved into that realm of oversight over a department, but at the same time, close in touch with the students. So both of you are administrators. Heather, you're the Associate Provost. Tell me a little bit about how being an Associate Provost meshes with your work as a historian.
It's a great question. Most importantly, I believe starting out as a professor of history in the early 2000s and really understanding the significance of what we do as professors, and to be able to teach students and teach them skills and help them develop skills and content knowledge and critical thinking and all those such important parts of a college experience for a student. And starting there and having my own research and scholarship and participating as a faculty member, truly a faculty member at committees, that really shaped my understanding of how significant our role is at a college. And I had every intention of staying, at being a professor and not moving into the administration at all until about 10 years ago. And then I became curious. Because it's another dimension to the college, and I knew it existed, but I didn't quite understand how it worked. And the ability to be able to be an administrator at the sort of this institutional level is key, but it's key because it's what I bring to the table, and that's because I'm a professor first and foremost, and I understand the importance of student learning, and that's something that we always have to keep in mind. At the administrative level, we have to make decisions that are in the best interest of our students and our faculty, because that's really the heart of the institution.
And understanding the students as they are in the classroom is a key to that. So understanding where the students are at and what their needs are.
Absolutely.
Now, Frank, you're chair of a very large and complex department, biology, and you've done this successfully for a long time, and at the same time you've been a masterful teacher and mentor, not only to the students, but even to the teachers in your department. Tell me a little bit about what that's been like for you and what your feelings are about balancing those two worlds.
Well, I started off falling in love with doing research. I'll be perfectly honest with you. When I was in my graduate work, my mentor asked me to teach a physiology course, and I kind of fell in love being engaged with the students. And I realized I kind of had my excitement for the field. I was able to translate to the students, and I could see their faces lighting up when I brought my research into the classroom. And I could see them, I'm saying, whoa, some of them, are getting inspired to go into a health field or to go into a research world. And that's how I got bit by the academic bug to teach. I thought I was going to be in a lab or a pharmaceutical firm just doing research my whole life, and my life changed, and I went into more an academic background, and still was able to continue my research. And I think my greatest strength of teaching is I could bring that into the classroom every single day, and I see it excites the kids, keeps their attention.
And it's a little counterintuitive, because when we think of teaching, we think, oh, well, if I have to teach, then there's no way I can talk about my esoteric field that I'm working on. But the reality is that if we're excited about something, our students will get excited about them. You know, I'm thinking of one of my favorite pianists, Sviatoslav Richter. He used to pick very strange programs for his concerts. And they asked him once how he made his decisions about what he was going to play. And he said, if I like it, they'll like it. And if I don't like it, I don't want to play it, right? And so as a professor, many times we have that option when we're choosing, for example, seminars we're going to teach. We can teach something that's esoteric or strange, but if we're passionate about it, the students will pick up on that. And I think that's true in administration as well. There's certain things in administration that particularly excite us and motivate us and make us want to do a good job. For me personally, I find helping the faculty, not only through compensation, but also through helping them in their research activities, the teaching environment. To me, having been a professor for so long, I really got into administration because I wanted that to improve for my friends and colleagues. Heather, what is it about administration that you find the most exciting?
The most exciting for me is planning, strategic planning, institutional assessment, improving. I just find that so important for an institution to keep going and moving into the future, because it's also important for our students, because the administration needs to serve students. They need to serve the different needs of our students, and our students change, and we need to make sure that as administrators that we are doing the right thing for the future, in the future for our students. And so again, the key to that is bringing in that faculty element. So when we're very excited to embark on our next strategic plan, and we're going to have a lot of involvement from faculty and staff and students and so forth. So that is an exciting part of administration for me, to be able to plan for the future. It's also exciting that we're going to, I'm involved with our accreditor, our institutional accreditation with Middle States, and we get to conduct a self-study every 10 years, now it's every 8 years, and that's exciting work because we get to see what do we do well, and then where are some things where we can improve. That's the key, I think, to being, my role as an administrator, and that's why I like the very institutional level in administration.
And I think too, because you're a curious person, you want to see what works and what's not working, and make changes to the things that aren't working. And I think that when we talk about, and for the viewers at home, colleges and universities have various accrediting agencies, and ours happens to be in this region, the Middle States Association. And they visit our campus every few years to determine whether all of our programs and our activities are meeting the standard. We did very well in our last one, and Heather was actually the person that was very much involved in that, and Frank as well. And so when we talk about planning and strategic planning, all of that folds into that idea of curiosity. What can we do better? Frank, when you think about what you do in your administrative side, what is it about that you find most satisfying?
I think helping students to find where they want to go in their careers. A lot of students, you started President Boomgaarden when you talked about all the different majors we have, and I'm always curious when the enrollment management people talk about our profile of the new student population coming to college, and you do have students who come who are undecided. And how I explain it to parents when I'm at open house, and we had open house a week ago, some parents go, oh, I'm not sure what my child wants to do. And it's great that we have 50 programs, because I always give this analogy. It's like going to a wedding. I like the buffet. You get a taste of all the different things, and then you go back to what you like. And that's the analogy I give to them. And students, you always hear, go to college. And I like being the chair, because as the chair, I always say you can't just be too rigid. Everybody is a different individual, and I like seeing the growth. But all these students come in, I want to do this. I want to, be a doctor. I want to be a scientist. and then they develop a love for a foreign language, music, history. You get these weird combinations of biology with, music, and you're like, okay, or art. And we afford that opportunity at St. Joe's, and I love trying to help the students plan to make that happen. Because when they leave here, we want to make them educated citizens, not just biologists in my case.
Yeah.
And we're able to do that at St. Joe's with the opportunities in all those different disciplines.
And sometimes when people ask me, they'll say, well, President Boomgaarden, what's the biggest major in your college? And I'll say, well, it's actually undecided, at least for the first couple of years, right? And that's normal because our students come to us, they may have a preconception of what they want to do, and frequently that's not a good one. And after a semester or two of college, they begin to realize who they really are. And so, Frank, when you talk about this, you're helping the students not only choose a major, but you're really helping them find themselves. And that's a really noble and important activity that, professors regularly serve as lifetime mentors. I'm still in touch with my professor from undergraduate who helped me so much to become a musician. And so that concept of choosing a major and finding yourself is such an important part of the journey for our students at St. Joseph's. We have to take a quick break, but still to come, more about the academic experience at St. Joseph's College.
Are you ready? To work together and stand out.
Ready?
To find solutions that push us forward.
Ready?
To take on today's challenges and take charge of our future. With a world-class education at St. Joseph's College in Patchogue, you will be ready. Attend an upcoming event to find out how. For scheduling information, visit sjcny.edu/LI events.
Are you ready?
St. Joseph's College.
Ready? Set?
Joe's.
Are you ready?
To work together and stand out.
Ready?
To find solutions that push us forward.
Ready.
To take on today's challenges and take charge of our future. With a world-class education at St. Joseph's College in Brooklyn, you will be ready. Attend an upcoming event to find out how. For scheduling information, visit sjcny.edu/BK events.
Are you ready?
St. Joseph's College.
Ready.
Set?
Joe's.
Welcome back to St. Joseph's College, Living Our Mission. We were discussing the academic experience at St. Joseph's. And I'm speaking today with Frank Antonowich and Heather Berry, two of our longtime faculty members. And I'm happy to say that at St. Joseph's we have a lot of longtime faculty members. I've been at schools where there was an incredible turnover of faculty. And here we have faculty that have been with us for a long time. They've had a chance to watch the institution grow and change over the years. And I suppose one of the questions I'd ask you is, how has St. Joseph's changed since when you started? I won't say how long ago, but since when you started at St. Joseph's. What have been some of the changes that you've seen?
So obviously infrastructure has changed. St. Joseph's has grown. We've added not only academic areas for development, but we've also added enrichment programs. So we have athletic facilities and stuff, because one of the things I also tell my students at the college is to get involved. You could be a musician, but maybe you're an athlete. So get engaged in the college experience, not just the athletics. Sometimes I always tell them, work hard, play hard. You need a release. You don't want to just constantly study. So that infrastructure, and as well as all the majors, has dramatically grown, as well as the faculty. When I came, we were like less than 80. Now we're more than double that size. So those are some of the things that I've seen dramatic change.
And Heather, what would you say? What have been some of the notable changes over the time you've been with us?
I definitely, I find that just exactly what Frank has found as well is the infrastructure has increased and it's going to increase even more, which is wonderful. I find that the new programs that we've introduced, we have expanded since I've been here, the graduate programs, we've expanded different programs that really fill the needs of our students. And it's been exciting because I've been able to be a part of some of these programs as an administrator, because that's part of kind of the provost office and so forth. So I definitely think that we have expanded in the areas of need that we really had, and that's where it's exciting for me. I like to see that, and I do like to see the infrastructure increase as well.
And I've seen, in my time here, I'm going into my 5th year now, what I've seen are the faculty are very engaged in creating new programs. Unlike many schools I've worked in as well, many of our best programs were the ideas of our faculty. And this is very counterintuitive to what many people would think, but the reality is the faculty really have a very good idea, especially our faculty, because many of them are out there, they're either researching or they're actually working. They're in contact with the real world all the time, and they know what seems to be important in the lives of the students. And so that development of new programs, I know, Heather, you've been helping me by heading up our new program task force, where we've been taking a look at some of the needs on Long Island and in Brooklyn for academic programs. So that focus on development of new programs has been a critical part of the faculty experience here for a long time. And I think that's one of the things that makes St. Joseph's College academic experience unusual, is that we have scholar, teacher, practitioners in the classroom. That's not to say that a school that is focused primarily on research is a bad school, but the truth of it is that when our faculty go into the classroom, they're often bringing real-world experience with them, and the students pick up on that. I think that's one of the important characteristics. But if someone was going to ask you, what's the difference, or what makes the St. Joseph academic experience special? How would you answer that? Frank, how would you answer that question?
Well, you kind of hit on a very important thing, that our faculty are experts. So some of them real-world experts in the profession. And St. Joseph's College prides itself on having small group settings. So the faculty member is in there and is able to hear the students. There's not 300 in my classroom. There's 15, 20. So I get to interact with my students. So not only do I could see what's going on in the world, developing health fields, things of that sort, programs we might want at St. Joseph's, but then does our student population have an interest in that? Mm-hmm. And if they have an interest in that, then that's where we then bump it up to the provost's office, the president's office, and ask, hey, some of our students, so we listen to our students. So the faculty expertise is there, and we get the student interest. This is an interest to our student population at St. Joseph's College. So I really see that here that makes St. Joseph's College different from a big place where you're just a number and maybe we're taking a shot in the dark to try to find.
And I think particularly in biology and in the laboratory sciences, we offer the students a lab experience that is really unparalleled for an entering student.
And that's one of the things when I became chair, and why I love the liberal arts institution. We're experiential at St. Joseph's College. So every single one of our classes in the biology department has a laboratory associated. And we have experiential learning related to global studies, some of which are science-based. Others are interdisciplinary. We had one that was planned with art to go to Greece, another one with philosophy. So the students get in those experiences to not only do the academics related to biology, but also engage in the culture of where they're going in these global experiences. So I think my department and many departments at St. Joe's, we practice experiential learning, and I, as a professor, feel that's one of the big strengths of St. Joseph's College and what attracted me to be here and stay here.
And there's a direct correlation, I know, between experiential learning and retention and student success. And so we have a 77% graduation rate, which is, I think, the highest on Long Island. And we have an incredible rate of retention normally. So I think that those experiential activities are so critical, connecting the student to the discipline and to the professor. Heather, what would you say makes us special?
I definitely want to continue with the idea of the faculty. That really we have a very unique culture here. Our faculty are interested in students learning. That's the most important thing. And so the way that they go about that is very creative. Definitely we have high impact practices like the global studies, and we have faculty involved in undergraduate research, as Frank has mentioned, but that is pervasive throughout the college. And so our students have our faculty, I should say, they know the most important thing is students learning. And so that component, that part of our culture makes us very unique. And so everything that we do, it's about the students. That's the key to, I believe, what makes us a unique institution.
And sometimes institutions forget that. right? Sometimes they forget that it's really the student in the classroom that they should be serving. It's easy to forget because, you know, the modern university is sometimes more like a corporation. I've heard some people describe some of our larger Ivy League institutions as hedge funds with institutions attached to them, which we are not. But they're so far removed from the typical undergraduate freshman sitting in the classroom that it's quite astonishing. And here at St. Joseph's, that's certainly not our experience. If we were going to talk about, you know, our students and how they've changed over the years, how would you describe the transition of how students come to college now as opposed to how they may have come a couple of decades ago?
I definitely, the students have changed dramatically. 20 years ago, the classroom was such a different place, and the way that I started teaching 20 years ago, it's unbelievable how much that we've had to adapt. Our students want to be engaged. They're not passive learners. And so that is something, and to do that, to transform the classroom into this place of engagement is not an easy task. And that's why faculty need support. And that's what I needed support as a faculty member. I needed to learn new tools, new technologies, and they're always changing. And so our students have changed in the way that they need to learn. And again, because our culture, we have a culture that we always want to serve our students, and it's always about student learning, that makes us be adaptable. And that's really a special thing that we have.
Frank, what would you say about the student of today as opposed to maybe 20 years ago?
I do agree with what Heather had mentioned. I feel the students do want to be more engaged in the classroom. The old days of me lecturing at someone are over, and I feel I try to teach my new junior faculty members in biology that is important, to engage the students in the discipline. Part of being a scientist is not only to gain information, but disseminate that throughout the world. And I think the students nowadays are more globally aware, and we have a responsibility to make sure they're educated. So when they go out there, they're an educated voter, if you may. So we're going out, we're making educated citizens by biology, philosophy, history, sociology, and I think the students want to do that. We see it in our culture, and we're perpetuating that environment at St. Joe's in the classroom.
I think I've said many times, if people saw our students in the classroom and saw them in action on campus in their various activities, they would feel very good about the future, because they're dynamic, they're engaged, they want to transform the world around us. They're filled with a spirit of ingenuity, and really it's our job to keep up with them and to give them the kind of educational experience that they deserve. And so I think that, you know, we've worked hard to do that. Both of you have played an incredible role in that. In the sciences, I think our science programs, and of course those connected ancillary programs like nursing, you know, Frank, you and your colleagues have done an amazing job. And then Heather, of course, you know, our liberal arts tradition, our tradition in history is really remarkable. And both of you then have excelled as administrators. You've brought the same kind of attention to detail and the same kind of focus into your administrative work that you bring into the classroom. And so I want to thank both of you. You know, so part of my program here is to thank both of you and to thank all the faculty really for the incredible work that they've done to link what we do in the classroom to our vision of administration of the college and how we keep the college moving forward, and we maintain this wonderful tradition of the Sisters of St. Joseph. Here at St. Joseph, our dedicated faculty play a key role in advancing the mission of the college. Their commitment to excellence in both teaching and scholarship lies at the heart of what makes SJC such an inspiring place to learn and to grow. They continually adapt to meet the needs of our students, and this commitment to providing an inclusive academic experience has helped us to thrive. Thank you for watching St. Joseph's College Living Our Mission. We hope to see you again soon.